Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats. The show is about to begin.
Truth, lies, shenanigans. 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 Tune in to TLS. Yeah, tune in to TLS. It's the TLS show. Coming to your live. TLS show.
Hey, welcome to Truth Lies Shenanigans podcast. Social commentary, hot topics, amazing guests with a ton of fun and shenanigans along the way. Today, we're joined by Gissele Taraba, co-host of the Love and Compassion with Gissele podcast. She's here to share her transformative journey of self-love and healing. Plus, we've got some sizzling hot topics. A white dad tests his biracial son for paternity because he doesn't look white enough. Then are you ready to have tiny little robots inside you doing medical procedures? And if we have time, we'll talk about that Titan sub tragedy, wondering if we should even care. First off, I want to thank our audience for tuning in to our new day and time, Wednesdays, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. You can watch us live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch TV, and TruthLiesShenanigans.com. But we'll be checking your comments on YouTube and Facebook. Just search TLS Live Show. Also, keep an eye out for our official audio podcast Fridays now on Apple Podcasts, Pods Network, Pods, P-O-D-Z, podsnetwork.com, or anywhere you listen to podcasts. Let me introduce you to my beautiful co-hosts. First up, we have our gamer, nature lover, rock star, coming to you from Ontario, Canada, Robbie Rob.
Hello, my friends. Happy Humpity Hump Day. So it's been an interesting week here. Yeah, we got our first real taste of the forest fire smoke in our region for about 4 days.
The first taste. Oh, man.
Yeah.
Literally.
Lucky you.
We
The
got a
rest
little
of
bit
us
of
been
this-
getting it.
We got a little bit of
Yeah.
the smell previously, but we got a real dose of the smoke. So, I mean, if you opened a window or stepped outside, it was hazy. It was just an acrid scent of smoke and soot in the air. It was heavy to breathe. I know that we did go paddling on the water Saturday morning, but the air quality really helped us decide to stay in for the rest of the weekend. And it was a good reason to
Man.
stay in. And we watched the first episode of Secret Invasion on Disney Plus. So, as a nerd,
Nice.
it's a really ambitious
Is it
story for
good?
them to tell.
I heard it wasn't
Yeah, I was
good.
going to ask that.
I've enjoyed the first 2 episodes. I mean,
Okay.
a lot of people, I mean, there's always fanboys that are going to tear everything apart. I tune in with no expectation because I recognize that Secret Invasion from Marvel is a very ambitious, large scale story to tell, but they only have a limited budget with so many characters. So it's not going to be the full thing. but
Okay.
I'm curious to see what they're going to do.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Well, next
Sounds
up,
interesting.
we have our college student, model, business owner, streaming from Atlanta, Georgia, Gianni Storm.
Hey, guys. I've missed you. So it's been pretty consistent. Same stuff, different day. But I'm actually looking forward to my birthday, which is in a couple of weeks.
Oh,
I
that's
believe my
right.
birthday is July 7th. Yes.
You believe.
So-
Wait a minute. Most people know their birthday, like, oh, it's right, it's going to be 2 days, 3 days. You're talking about maybe a couple of weeks from now. I don't know.
Government paper says July 7th.
It just
Yeah.
says it on the calendar.
And my wife's birthday is the
No,
second, so right behind.
Oh yes, I remember she's a fellow Cancer.
Yep.
But yeah, I'm looking forward to my birthday. I'm going out to this arts event, and I don't think we have a show on that week as well. So
we're gonna say happy
No.
birthday to you right now. Happy birthday,
Yay!
Gianni. That's right. We don't have a show next week, so
Aw.
happy birthday, Gianni.
Thank you.
So how
And I
old will you
won't
be?
tell
You'll be
my
what?
age.
You'll be like
I knew you were gonna ask.
you'll be like 16, 17 now.
You don't ask that to a woman. Once you hit after 20, I think it's after 25, then you're not supposed to spill your age.
Oh, is that the
ladies.
age? Okay, now I know.
Oh,
Okay.
really?
Oh, now I know.
I'm 22. No, I'm kidding.
20
Again, well done. I have a standard line for that, Johnny, because I've had women and I've had people do that to me. I recently
Yeah.
had an uncle where it was their birthday and we're celebrating. I said, "So, how old are you?" He said, "Well, I'm 69." I said, "Oh my God." I said, "For 69, you look horrible." She's like, "Well, no. Like I'm 80, I'm 76." I said, "For 76, you look great. But for 69, you look
Yeah.
awful."
That's messed up, man. So rude.
That's a messed up. I know.
It does sound like Robbie, though. Too honest.
It does. Let me burst your bubble.
All right. All right. Of course, I am your host, Neo Nix. So, quick question for you guys. Have you guys experienced lucid dreaming?
Absolutely.
You know, when you're in the middle of a
Oh my
dream and suddenly you
God.
become like aware of it?
Terrifying. Yes. It's
Terrifying.
Scary. It's terrifying.
Terrifying.
When you're
Yes.
able to control your dreams, that's terrifying.
No.
When you
Oh wait,
become
is lucid
aware.
dreaming?
Lucid dreaming is when you become aware of it. You're thinking of what
Oh,
is it?
okay,
I think
no.
I forget what it's called when you're like when you wake up
Oh,
and you
like
can't
that,
move.
Like paralyzed.
Which is sleep.
Yeah.
Because, yeah.
You're paralyzed.
Oh,
yes.
paralysis.
Yeah.
Sleep paralysis.
Yeah, the paralysis.
No, I'm talking about
Okay.
No,
lucid
lucid
dreaming.
dreaming.
Yeah, so I
Okay.
do it. I actually do it a lot. I noticed I do it very often. So like I'll be
Wow.
in the middle of a dream and I'm like, oh, I'm in a dream, and then I just like take off flying somewhere, or I'll do.
That's my go-to.
I just do whatever. You know, it's freaking awesome. I
I've
mean,
never
you could,
done that.
or I start just like investigating the area or wherever I'm going, or start talking to whoever I want to. It's like living in like a whole different world. But then
Mhm.
I was so
God.
it happened so often. I started to look it up because I was like, I really want to like induce it. So I've actually gotten really good at it.
Yeah.
I can do it like about twice a week now. Like
Oh,
if
wow.
it's
Really?
really awesome just to
My
be able to.
My
You have to
son
teach
had
us.
invested a lot of time into developing
Learning?
lucid dreaming techniques.
It's
And
awesome.
He
Man.
stopped doing it after a while because he found that there was just that disassociation where he found that he was having a little bit of difficulty discerning.
Between
Really?
I can see that.
Is this
I
a
am not.
lucid dream or is
Oh,
this
that's
real?
scary.
Mhm, I can see that
And just
actually.
at the time in his life, because that was in his teens. I mean, there's a lot going on.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know when I'm
Yeah.
in the dreams, I have to ask myself several times just to make sure, because I don't want to do anything stupid like jump off a cliff and it's like real life.
Well, yeah.
So-
I mean,
Oh my
if you
God.
try levitation first
so,
and it works,
right.
you know you're dreaming.
So I got to make sure. So-
That's insane.
and it
You'll
seems
have
so
to tell
real
us,
sometimes.
Neil.
It's just pretty awesome. So anyway,
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is neat.
it's a lot. It's it's great. Anyway.
That's amazing that
Did
you
you-
can do it with such
They
frequency.
say like in a dream you're not supposed to ask people in the dream what time it is.
Oh,
Or
really?
something, or they'll like
No,
attack
actually,
you.
That's one of the
something
things
like
is
that.
like one of the things in dreams. One of the ways you
Wow.
can know that you're in a dream is try to read something. Apparently, you can't
Okay.
read.
Oh.
You can't read in dreams.
Oh wow.
Yeah, because I looked that up. That's part of my investigation of lucid dreaming. So one of the
Didn't
ways
know
you can
that.
you can tell if you're in a dream or not. You like just look to see if you're dreaming. I mean, if you can read something. All
You
right.
can comprehend words, but you can't like read them.
Right.
Okay.
Well, you can know that they're words on a thing, but you don't know what they are. Right. You can't
Okay.
actually be able to read
I
it.
see.
All right.
Very
All right.
interesting.
Let's go ahead and get into our show. We've got a fantastic guest today, so let's go ahead and bring her in. Hey, Gissele, how are you? Welcome. All right, so
Thank you,
I'm great.
Gissele.
I loved your conversation about lucid dreaming.
oh yeah, I bet you know a lot about that actually. So-
Well, actually, my husband and my daughter are good about lucid dreaming. They can manipulate their dreams as well.
it's awesome. It's an
I have
amazing
done it.
feeling.
It is. I've gotten to the stage where I can be aware that I am asleep. I'm like, I think I'm asleep, but then I kind of
Yes.
still stick to the script.
Yeah, yeah. No, I can
Same.
literally like change what I'm doing and go and it's amazing. Anyway, so today
Yeah.
we're thrilled to welcome Gissele Taraba. Did I say that correctly? Taraba?
Yes, Taraba.
Ah, I said it perfect. All right, great. So she's a dynamic force, dual masters in epidemiology and social work, devoted mother, guiding light in the realm of mindfulness and self-compassion. She's a co-owner of the Matrix Center for Love and Compassion, and the host of the Love and Compassion with Gissele podcast. And let me tell you, she is transforming lives. She's also the author of the groundbreaking book, Reimagining Work, which challenges us to redefine our relationship with work. So thank you so much, Gissele, for joining us. We appreciate you.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Gissele.
thank you so much for having me on the show. I really appreciate it.
Awesome. So first question we always have to ask is, can you tell us something, anything that if our audience heard your name, they went on Google and said, who is this Gissele Taraba? What is something that they could not find out about you?
One of the things is that I'm a left-handed mirror writer. So when I was a kid, I used to write backwards. They had a hard time teaching me to write the other way, and I actually had to learn. And so it
That's
was, and I can still read it too. I can still read it.
So
And
you
the-
write backwards with your left hand.
Yes.
A
So I
mirror.
can
You write a mirror version with your left
Yes.
hand.
So if you put a
What?
mirror up, you would have seen it, the flip. And so, but so I grew up in Peru.
Okay.
And in a, I guess we had a
Nice.
school that was full of nuns, and the nuns thought I was possessed. I did that. So my parents had to take me to a psychologist.
So they thought you were possessed, huh?
Yeah, but
It's a talent.
and so I had to learn to write on the flip, but I can still do it.
That's amazing.
Wow,
That's
a
quite a
really
talent.
cool thing.
That feels like a talent or a gift or
I
something.
know.
You could probably do code. You do
Sure.
code to your friends and just start writing stuff. Write
But-
notes in
I mean, to
school.
do that, yeah.
That's the Catholic nun
They
way.
had a hard time reading it, right? Like they had a hard time reading it.
Wow.
They had to put
They
a
couldn't
mirror for
understand.
them to read it.
Yeah, I
That's
can see
funny.
it. All right,
That's really cool.
I was reading about how self-love and self-compassion helped you overcome some pretty tough stuff in your life, like anxiety, panic attacks, even some childhood trauma. Can you share a little more about that and how it's kind of shaped the way you teach mindfulness and self-compassion?
Yeah, thank you very much. So growing up, both my parents had experienced different levels of childhood adversity. My mom had a really horrible childhood. And so she was a traumatized person parenting children. And so what you do is you actually, sometimes when a person is traumatized, they will teach their kids the survival tools of people that are traumatized.
Mm.
And so growing up, I didn't know that it wasn't normal not to trust and to be full of anxiety and be full of negative thinking and always worry that the other shoe was going to fall. And so I had all of these things, and they impacted all these different areas of my life. And in fact, one of my dreams really was to go into child welfare to help people like my mom and her mom. But the truth of the matter is, I was suffering. I didn't realize how closed off I had been. I was suffering from anxiety, started to develop panic attacks, which I didn't know what they were. So the first time I thought I was having a heart attack, and that's
Oh.
pretty scary when you're
Yo,
in
that
the
is
hospital. And
scary.
I'm like, do you have anxiety? And I'm like, what's that? I didn't even know what that was. Because my
That's
parents
it.
did
I
not
had
even believe in that sort of mental health stuff.
I have heart
they're
issues too, and then
traditionally
that was one
female
thing. I have heart issues too, and one of the things they asked me, first things they asked me, are you having a panic attack? Are you having anxiety attack? Because they say the symptoms are so similar.
Wow. I did not know that.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Go
So
ahead.
my parents didn't really talk about mental health because they're Latinos. You didn't tell people your business. You didn't go to therapy. You didn't do all these things.
Mm.
And so I did start obviously going to therapy when I realized I needed to change. And I found, actually, I started by reprogramming my brain. All of the negative messaging that I had received as a child, and it wasn't on purpose. My parents did the best they could. They really did.
Right.
Of course.
You know, as Louise Hay says, with the understanding, knowledge, and awareness that they had, right? They love the best, but you can't give to others what you don't have from. And so I had to reprogram my brain to think positively.
Mm.
So I would listen to people like Louise Hay on loop. Like she would always tell you,
Oh.
you know, like, yeah, so everything's going to be okay. You know, the world is a safe place. And then over
Yes.
time, I realized I had to do it for myself because as long as I found peace outside of myself, like if I needed reassurance from Louise or from my husband or someone else, I was still getting it externally. And if it wasn't there, I couldn't regulate.
Mm.
And so that's how I found
Yeah.
meditation and mindfulness. And that was really, really helpful. It has helped me to no end. I mean, I didn't realize and that you could actually find the space between thoughts. You could have, so you know how thoughts come so fast?
Yes.
When you're able to get to the point where there's actually a space between thoughts, and that is super powerful. And I just got to tell you, when I first started meditating, it felt gritty, it felt gross. I couldn't even do 5 minutes.
Really?
But by showing up and showing up and showing up for myself, making that choice every single day, on the
Consistent.
nth day, something happens. I don't know how it happens. It's like on the nth day, it's like you working out, right? At first, it's like kind of a pain, and then later on, you're like, okay, I'm in stride.
Interesting. Because I
And
mean,
so,
just to jump in real quick. So my wife is really big on the mindfulness and the meditation, and she keeps trying to get me to do it and telling me that, oh, it help you so much and help me get centered, and I'm sure it would. But if I'm being honest, every time I've tried it, I'm like, that's just not for me. It's just it's kind of silly to me. I'm just being honest. This is my honest feelings.
Because it's foreign and awkward.
Right.
That's why, dude.
Yeah, and so
Different. It's
but-
different to you.
But I mean, it's sort of like you said. I guess maybe I need a few times to kind of turn on that switch or something. I don't know.
And
Exactly.
it doesn't, so people have this belief that mindfulness meditation has to be you sitting on a cushion and sitting and doing that. But many times we are actually mindfully doing things. If you do something you love, you are fully in the present moment. You are
That's true.
mindfully do. So when people
That's a
do
good
art,
example.
they are
True.
practicing mindfulness. When
Okay.
you're doing something you truly love, when you're in the zone, when you're doing something, so it doesn't always have to be like people think it has to be hard work. It's not.
Mm.
The hard
not.
work is meeting yourself. It's that's
Yeah.
really, and so that was the thing. So in the process of me doing mindfulness and meditation, I met myself.
Okay.
And I met a lot of the limiting beliefs I had about myself.
Okay.
And so, one of the things I love to talk about is manifesting, right? And everybody, like
Yeah.
all over TikTok, is mad people manifest. But the thing people don't talk about is when manifesting is easy for the things you don't have limiting beliefs about, right? So I could
Yes.
easily,
Yes.
see a white horse or, get something extra tickets. But when you have limiting beliefs about your abundance, about your health, about your relationship, manifesting can feel challenging because underneath there are some limiting beliefs. And then you will,
Yeah.
people say, oh, you just have to get into you got to live from the wish fulfilled, right? You have to believe you receive it, right? That you're receiving it and live from that place. And then
So
you
you-
will have it. And it's true. I have done it. That's very true.
So you're
But the
saying like,
problem becomes,
go ahead. I'll let you
Sorry, go
finish.
ahead.
I'll let you finish. Go ahead.
The problem becomes when you have limiting beliefs about stuff, and then you get yourself because you're like, well, all these people are doing it. Why isn't it working for me? What's wrong with
For
me?
me. Right.
And so for me, when I started to start to dig a little bit deeper as I was going into meditation and meeting myself, I realized I had a lot of beliefs about my lack of self-worth, about my lack of self-love, about my worthiness in being able to live my dreams. And until I face those fears and until I face those beliefs, it wasn't going to change for me. I wasn't going to be able to do that manifestation for the big things that I had limiting beliefs about. And so it became about, how do I talk to myself every day? When I think about the thoughts I used to think about, I would have never said some of the things I said to myself that I would say to any of you guys.
Right.
I would have been like,
Mm.
you guys can do it. I believe in you. I love you guys. You guys are the best. Doesn't matter what happened. But to myself, I was
Why is that?
critical.
Out of
I was
curiosity, why is that?
Yeah.
Why
It's a
did
good
you not?
question, yeah.
Because I would just want so like I know I have people around me that struggle with that, with feeling positive, self-worth, and I've always
Negative
I don't know,
self-talk.
yeah, but I don't know, maybe I love myself, right? There was a long time ago where I realized that no, seriously, I realized that I do love myself and who I am, and I don't know, I never really struggled with self-worth. I felt like I was worthy. And but the thing is, sometimes it's hard for me to understand where people are coming from when they don't feel it. So I'm curious, what was it for you? What made you feel that way? And then, where did you come out of that?
This is a fantastic question. So a lot of the times when you are raised with people that are very fearful, have trauma themselves, they don't know how to cope, they don't know how to emotionally regulate. They need you to be perfect so that they can regulate.
Okay.
So often when the parents tell you, stop it, don't cry, you need to put it together, what they're saying to you is, I need you to regulate yourself first so that I could be okay. Whereas it should be the other way. A parent regulates their own emotion first, and then they're like, okay, how can I hold space for your difficult feelings and teach you how to regulate? So, but what
Okay.
happens with young kids though is like when the parent doesn't realize that and they're traumatized, and then they're sometimes not able to offer you the same level of love or compassion or kindness or attention, kids internalize it because they don't understand, oh, my mom had trauma, or my mom does it, she's afraid.
Yes.
They don't realize that. So the
Yeah.
only thing they know is it must be me,
Yeah.
because that's the only thing,
Yeah.
because they're very self-focused. So they're like,
Self-centered.
it must be me.
That's
That
true.
makes
So I
sense.
must not be worthy of love and compassion. I must not be worthy of attention. I must not be
Yeah.
worthy to receive. If, like, let's say if your parents were poor, you were thinking, oh, maybe I didn't get that bike because I wasn't worthy to receive, rather than if your parents aren't honest about their lack of abundance, right? And they want to keep you protected, but you didn't get that bike from Santa, right? I wasn't
Right.
worthy to receive. And
Interesting.
so you start to
I love
internalize
what you're
these messages
saying.
about your own worthiness.
Yeah. Me too.
Yeah, I love
And so
what you're
you start to
saying.
internalize these messages about yourself and about your own ability to fulfill your needs. And so a lot of the self-compassion, self-love work is, first of all, about self-soothing. Some people who were traumatized during childhood by their parents and so on and so forth don't know how to regulate their emotions. And in fact, we're right now in a pandemic of a lack of emotional regulation. That's why people cancel each
Yes.
other out, because they cannot deal with the difficult feelings of somebody saying something that might be triggering for them. And so it's
Yes.
about us being able to hold space for ourselves and hold ourselves with kindness and love, and meeting our own needs first, and
First.
then being able to be curious about the other person, then being able to
Yes.
go, okay, I'm going to lean in and try to understand this perspective.
That's fair.
But first, I have to deal with my own feelings of shame, guilt, all of that.
Yeah.
And so that's where people don't know how to do that. And so from then they internalize those feelings. And
Totally makes
so
sense.
I had to meet myself and meet those feelings, which sometimes felt super overwhelming and scary,
Yeah.
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
Because you're like,
That's
am I even worthy to be alive?
Makes
And
sense.
Yes.
so it really is about, how can I care for this being right here? And one of the kind of the best things that I had to learn over time, and this took a while for me, although it doesn't have to take a while for people, is I'm worthy of love even if I don't do anything to earn it. I'm worthy of love
Yes.
just because I exist. I don't have
Yes.
to have a successful podcast. I don't have to help save the world. I don't have to do anything. I am inherently worthy and lovable.
Yeah.
And so I really had to kind of sit with that and say, I don't have to earn my own love and compassion. If anybody's going to have to give it to me for free, it's me. Right?
you-
Because if I
And
can't
so
give
you
it
feel
to
that way.
myself,
So
Right.
you've grown into that, and that's how you feel
That's
now,
great.
is that you are worthy. Yep. So Rob, you had a
Yes.
question?
Yeah, I was just wondering, I want to segue into your the Maitri Center, into your organization, because I love what you're sharing about your personal transformation and your journey. And I was wondering if you could give us some insight into the organization, what it's about, and how it supports individuals in their personal growth and transformation.
Nice.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you for asking that question. So basically, I started my tree center because, well, number one, I hadn't seen another compassion center in Canada.
I've never heard of it.
And the other,
Anything like it.
most of them are
Me
in the
either.
US. Most of them are US. There's some in the UK. And so I was following a lot of the compassion work. I, at the time, was trying to introduce compassion into child welfare
Okay.
in terms of how things are done. How can we still lean in with people without judgment, without saying you're a bad parent, you're blah, blah, blah. Because I
Right.
noticed that the kids didn't. They wanted to love their parents regardless of how they had treated them. And
Yes.
some people in child welfare judge that as dumb when really they were just being unconditionally loving. But how could you
Yes.
do that safely, right?
Right.
And so I was
Right.
trying to incorporate into child welfare, not being very successful because there's a lot of resistance and there's a lot of duality in child welfare and systems that we currently have. It's like right or wrong, good, bad. And so I wanted to live in the gray. I wanted to be, okay, how can I still lean in, love, witness, and still, even when I'm uncomfortable, still be able to do that for you. And so, my husband and I, because he's been kind of wanting to do this for a while as well, kind of came together and said, okay, now or never. Because I was burning out at work. I'll be honest. I was completely burning out at work. There was lots of toxicity, dehumanizing approaches, lots of just it's a lot of stuff. And actually one of my roles was director of HR, and I saw it firsthand. And I thought, why can't we just lean into one another and try to understand rather than why can't we just kind of change the way that we work? And so
Yes.
I left my organization to start this business. And so the podcast is kind of an offshoot of it.
Nice.
It is about part of it is about, like how self-love and self-compassion help us really live our best lives. But there are other kind of conversations that I've had with people where we talk about leaning into each other. So for example, I had an interview with a person who used to be a member of the KKK.
Oh, wow.
Sorry, not
Wow.
KKK. He was a white supremacist. Sorry, he was
so
into white
still.
supremacy.
Hey,
Tomato,
you know,
tomato.
right.
Tomato.
Splitting hairs there.
So he was a member of white supremacy in Canada, and
Wow.
had a kind of an experience with a Jewish therapist where he experienced compassion, unconditional compassion from a Jewish therapist that he saw, and the unconditional love of his children
Aw.
led him to understand that his ways were not the right ways. And so he now works to bring greater compassion into this kind of, race relations. And he speaks
Right.
about it from a person who was involved with white supremacy. I've had a conversation with a woman who chose to forgive the young people that killed her son because those kids were traumatized. And so these are
That takes a
I've
lot of
embedded
compassion.
stories
Hard. Yeah, that's hard.
about leaning into each other. But just so
Yeah.
that we're just clear, you can't lean in without leaning into yourself first. You got to meet your own needs, put your own oxygen mask on, be loving and compassionate to yourself. And from that space, you can give people to their overflow, from your overflow to them. So the podcast is one thing that we offer for free, like it's available for people. I also do coaching, so one-on-one coaching for people, as does my husband. And so we offer coaching, and we also offer group things. I had to, in my journey of being a business person, an entrepreneur, in going back to that manifesting thing, for the first 2 years of my business, nothing was happening, like nothing. And so it was very hard for me because I was always an achiever. I'd been working since I was 13. As you said, I have multiple degrees. I'd managed millions of dollars in business in the not-for-profit world and in the public sector. And so you go from there to making nothing, like zero, not seeing anything, and thinking to yourself, and there it is. Yeah, you're like manifesting, and I'm like, okay, I know what to do. I'm getting the thing. I feel like a millionaire, right? And so I faced a dilemma. I faced a dilemma of, do I go back to work? Or do I just stick it out? And what happens with these bills? And I will say that when you do have faith, the universe comes at like every single time the universe has come into place and has given us something for us to continue. But I think I still needed that security because I was afraid. I'm like, well, what if it doesn't come next month, right?
My wife is there.
But because the thing is, my husband never pushed me. But the reason why I'm raising this story is because it goes to my book, right? I was telling him how afraid I was and how it wasn't working, and like I've been normally very successful, and now I'm not seeing anything.
Right.
And so he said to me, well, why don't you just go get a job then if you're that worried, right? He said, don't worry about it. It's going to work out. It always does. But if you're that worried, go get a job. And so, and the thought about going back into the workplace, it was
Inspired you.
actually just
Mhm.
not. And the reason being is because
Mm,
I don't feel the way that we work is natural.
Yeah.
It's not
yeah,
in alignment with who we
Mhm.
really are.
it's not.
It's
It's not.
not, it's not how we want to create, right?
Mm-mm.
A lot of, like, a number of people are stuck in jobs that they are not, it's not their passion. When
Yep.
Right.
you do your passion, I think you were talking about this, Neo. When you are in your passion, it doesn't feel like work. You're
Yeah.
just doing, you're just being, it's in the joy.
Fun.
And so, yeah, the fun. And so I really took a look at what work looks like for
Right.
us and the
Right.
consciousness behind why we work the way that we do. And there's a big division between the old workplace and the new generation of young people who are really
Oh yeah.
focused on, and the older generation called them snowflakes and they don't want to work. But the truth of the matter is, the new generation
Yeah.
understand manifestation. They understand alignment. They understand vibration more. They want to try different things. Social media
Yeah.
is helping big time. They want to do passive income. And so there's this disconnect. And the big disconnect that I saw, even for myself, in terms of why we work the way that we do, also had to do with self love and self compassion, believe it
Mhm.
or not.
Mhm.
I always wondered if we feel we have to
We let
earn
people
our
run
kids,
over us.
had
Yeah.
to earn the love of
Mhm.
our parents.
Mhm.
And
Yes.
so what I decided to do was, I'm going to choose to trust, but I'm going to take this time to go on a journey of exploration of the workplace in my own journey. And I realized I had to change my relationship with how I perceive work.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And really, that's what kind of led to my book, Reimagining
Reimagining
Work.
work.
What
Yeah.
Very
Yeah.
it's about.
nice.
It really
But
is about changing our
Nice.
perspective and understanding that we're worthy to live our dreams.
so like just yesterday
Absolutely.
I was playing volleyball with a good friend of mine, and he works in social work too, by the way. But he brought his daughter to play volleyball, and he was saying that his daughter wants to make the high school team. So I was like, okay, I'd be happy to work with her. Just bring her in on Tuesday nights. I help her
Aw.
learn. Plus, he gets to play with her,
Mhm.
have fun. And then he said to me, right? So he says to me, well, I only brought her because this was my day off. Tuesday is my late day at work. And I said, so just change your day, right? And he
Yeah.
was like, well, what am
Right.
I going to tell him? I need to switch so I can play volleyball with my daughter. And he laughed, right? And I looked at him, I was like, yes, that's exactly what you say. You right? Right? I
Yeah.
Mhm.
mean, we need to start looking at like family time, personal time as the priority.
Yeah.
And then work is the means to having that, right? I
Yes.
mean, am I
Mhm.
wrong
Yes.
or?
That's a good point,
We
Neil.
No,
work to live.
we've
We don't live to
separated our
work.
personal lives
Yes,
from our
Rob.
workplace.
Yeah.
And this is the headache from some of the older generations, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
our great grandparents had to be at war. They didn't
Yeah.
get to
Mm-hmm.
choose to live their
Mm-hmm.
dreams, right? Like they had to you just suck
Had
it
no
up, and
choice.
there's not a lot of emotional regulation, not a lot of compassion. And so we kind of learn these beliefs that are so outdated. And because we believe them, we've sort of created this work environment where work is over here in this little box, and it may or may not be do something that we like, and our personal time is separate. And then we take time out of the year to go on a vacation, which is usually time away from work. But some
Yeah.
people that I know are miserable the majority of the year, but don't want to let go of
Mm-hmm.
the 4, 5, 6 weeks vacation. And I'm
Yep.
like, well, you're miserable most of the year. What's
Mm-hmm.
right? To me, it doesn't compute.
Right.
And so
Quality
True.
of
I
life.
think right now with COVID, it's a good time to reimagine,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because of great resignation. And I'm sorry, but with AI and has anybody been to the Home Depot lately or the Lowe's?
I've been Home
Oh, I
Depot
have.
recently, yeah.
Home
But
It's
Depot.
primarily
Yeah.
machines.
yeah,
It's,
that's right.
there's
They don't even have
barely any people.
yeah, they don't even have
You
cashiers
don't even have
anymore.
people.
Yeah.
Right.
No
And
more.
so on
Right.
the
No.
one hand, you could say, we're going to lose our jobs. Or you could say, okay, now to reimagine what we really want to do and how we really want to do it,
Yeah,
Yes.
how
reimagine.
to live our dreams, and allow the AI to do all the things we don't want to do, and really tap into our joy and our passions and allow
Yeah.
ourselves to really live from that place and create workspaces
Mm-hmm.
that really reflect that. But so one of the things I discovered, which was, not that I want to give the punchline, But it's basically that it was like, in order for me to change how my relationship with work was in the workplaces I was attracting and so on, I had to change myself.
Right.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yep.
Mhm.
I
Yep.
really had to change myself
Absolutely.
and how I
Yeah.
aligned to things and not reacting out of fear. And so that was really the journey I underwent.
Wow.
Yeah, so
I've
it
got to
was
read.
quite a
I've got to
fascinating
read your
thing. So
book.
we also offer
I've
the
got to
book.
I
read that book because
know.
I mean that was something that's real valuable.
Yes.
We're really short on time. We're out of time. But Gianni, you haven't gotten a chance to ask a question, so I really want you to get in there, ask a question. I know you had some
Yes.
important stuff to ask.
Yeah, I actually wanted to ask, with the ongoing pandemic, you did mention it a little bit, but it caused an increase in all of this anxiety and stress amongst people. How do you believe practices like self-compassion and mindfulness can help people during these times?
Great question.
Yeah. That's a great question. I think compassion is so important for us to keep going. So the reason why we're so afraid with what's happening right now is because our talk is negative. It's very fear-based because we live in a fear-based society, right? If you look at, but the society is a reflection of us, right? And so
Yeah.
all of this negative messaging, all of this fear are things we give our energy and attention to. We spent a lot of our time on our fears rather than using that same energy and attention on what we want to create. One of the things I talk
True.
in the book, and I've heard other people say this, is that energy is currency. And if you actually
Mm.
want to know, like, and it comes from attention. What you place your attention on is where you place your
Yep.
energy, as Dr. Joe says, right? And
Yeah.
that's what you feed. So that's why if you look right now at the marketing companies, what are they buying?
Mm.
Your time, your
Mm.
attention,
Mm.
right? All those ads, all those things because they understand that your attention and your energy matters. And so we spend a lot of our time focusing on the things we fear rather than using that to focus on the things we want to create.
I love that.
And so
True.
now is the
Yeah.
time, though it seems like a time of upheaval, it is the
Yeah.
perfect time to really start to say, but in how self-love and self-compassion come in is not using that critical voice when we don't get it right. It's a journey, right?
Yes.
There's many times when I don't get
Okay.
things right. And so if I
Right.
treat myself with harshness during those moments, I will not keep moving forward. For far
Right.
too long,
Right.
we have criticized ourselves into action.
That's true.
It
Mhm.
really is about
Very true.
Yeah.
treating ourselves with kindness. And people don't think that compassion is a great motivator. It is because
It
it
is.
keeps you in the game
Hmm.
when you want to
Thank you.
give up.
I like that. Yeah,
Yeah.
I like that. All right.
That's
I love
true.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us. We are out of time, but make sure you grab her book,
Yes.
Rethinking
Yes.
Work, right? And then,
Reimagining.
Reimagining Work. I love that. Reimagining Work. And if you
Yes.
could, just tell people where they can find you and any final thoughts
Yeah.
that you have. Appreciate it.
It's people can find me at www.maitricentre.com. So that's mytreecenter.com. And I'm also on various social media. I'm on primarily on TikTok, although I do have a Instagram account. I'm on TikTok and Clapper, and so yeah. And I just want to say thank you. This has been such an
Oh.
amazing conversation. You guys are so joyful, and that really is really exciting to
Thank
watch.
you. We enjoyed having you.
Thank
I mean,
you.
I'm very, very grateful at you.
Reimagining
Thank you,
Work. Grab her
Gissele.
book. Make sure you check out her website. It's in our
I'll be
description.
reading it.
So make sure. Gissele, thanks again for joining us. We appreciate you.
Thank you, Gissele.
Bye. Thank you
Bye-bye.
so much.
Wow. Love and compassion.
Amazing.
Love
We love a good
yourself.
motivator.
Yeah, you got to love yourself. I mean, that's the one thing I learned a long time ago. If you don't love
Yeah.
yourself, you really can't love anybody else. So,
You can't go anywhere. You can't do anything.
yeah.
That was a
Love-
great message.
I mean, one of the things I did like about what she said is, having compassion towards others. I mean, someone
Yeah.
whose children were killed by somebody. I mean, that takes a lot of compassion
Wow.
to kind of
yeah.
like forgive that, because I don't know if I have that much compassion.
I
in
don't
me.
know. Right.
but I mean, in the context was they were young. They were young
Young
killers.
kids. Yeah.
So she was able to practice compassion on account of the fact that these kids were victims of trauma. I mean, as an adult, you have the ability to overcome trauma. So if you're still that guy, I get what she's saying.
No,
It's-
yeah.
The
Understandable.
context
And
is
I love
very
it.
the
I
subtle,
mean, I love it
subtle
because
subtleties.
it's I've
Yeah.
got to start rethinking, you know, and that's part of what, you know, we have to start rethinking about how we see the world and how we see each other and how we see ourselves. So, all right,
Yoga is a great way to get in touch with that, man.
you know,
Yes, I love yoga. I love yoga.
my wife has been trying so
Love
hard.
yoga.
Do it.
Love
Yeah.
it.
Do it.
Well, yoga, I've done yoga, but it's
Amazing.
anyway. All right, let's get to some of these hot topics. We're so late. We're trying
Lies, shenanigans.
All right. All right. So this story set social media on fire. On Reddit, a white father shared a story. He said for years he doubted his son was actually his because he didn't look white enough. Now he's married to a black woman. They have 2 kids, a girl and a boy. He always had doubts the child was, quote, was not his because, quote, he doesn't look half white. He also said that when his younger daughter was born, she looked more like him with blue eyes and her other white features, and that made him doubt his son even more. He wrote, "I never realized how powerful it is to know a child is yours. I bonded with her easier because it wasn't the question of paternity dangling over our heads."
Mhm.
Insane.
So he got a secret paternity test, which ultimately confirmed his son was indeed his. And when he confessed to his wife, telling her how he'd been treating his son differently, she was livid. They accused him of being a racist and said that he made their son feel unloved for years for no reason. The story sparked a lot of debate, with many people accusing the father of being a racist and criticizing him for letting his doubts affect how he treated his son. So what you think? Is he racist? Or was this an acceptable mistake? Start out with Gianni.
It's definitely not an acceptable mistake. That
Okay.
is not it.
Mhm.
If your child came out at any color, okay, because I have 2 mindsets about this. To play devil's advocate, if you're a fair colored man, if you're a white man, and your baby comes out darker,
Did you say fair colored? Like, that's new. Okay.
I don't know why that came, why that word. But if you're white, if you're
Robbie,
a lighter
you're a
colored
fair
man,
colored man.
That's fair.
I'm
Why
sorry. Go
did I
ahead,
use
Gianni.
fair color?
Just go ahead, Gianni. Go ahead.
who knows? But I can understand why you would question your son coming out darker if you don't know genetics and if you don't know how things play out. But if you do know, then you know that babies come out darker. You can have 2 light-skinned parents, 2 dark-skinned parents, and the babies be different color.
Mhm.
So that's kind of like a known biological thing. But like I said, to play devil's advocate, I don't think that it was racist. I keep thinking you guys are using the wrong word. Like even the
Okay.
article, I think
Mhm.
it's colorist, but I don't think it's racist because technically he never said that he hated the child because of this child's skin tone. He was just questioning if the child was his.
Mhm.
So I don't really see racism.
Alright.
I don't see it. You guys are
Alright.
gonna have to convince me.
All right, Robbie.
Why do men do this kind of stuff? Because there are women who lie about this kind of stuff. You know, I know what it's like to look at your child and to not really see your features and to have that seed of doubt. I know
Yeah.
what it's like to have those suspicions be later confirmed. So,
Oh,
Yeah.
really?
of
Wait.
course, I
Hold
don't.
on. Later confirmed. Wait.
Well,
Wait,
yeah,
are you just dropping a bomb on us? Wait a minute. You just going? I'm not
Absolutely
going.
not. No, I have one child that is biologically mine, and I have one that was sired by a different donor. I didn't find out till
Oh,
that
a
child was
different
about 4
donor.
years of age.
Wow.
Oh,
Okay, so you are
wow.
dropping a
That's a
bomb
great-
on me at least, because I didn't know that.
Yeah, we didn't know that.
So I understand where that seed of doubt can linger and where it can live
Mhm.
and it can eat away at you. It can change how you interact with that child. And this isn't a colorist thing. This isn't a racist thing. It's
Yeah.
it's doubt. It's detachment. It's fear based. So you know, if you have trust issues with your partner, that's a thing. It should have been a conversation rather
Yep.
than a secret test, and be honest about your feelings.
That's what I was gonna say.
because you know I don't, as Johnny mentioned, I'm fair colored, so I mean I know how to make pink babies, right?
You're a fair colored man,
Why
right?
did I say
I'm a
fair?
fair colored man, fair skinned man. But that's it. Like my kids are biracial, and
Yeah.
that was a new experience too because one is a little bit darker than the other, and it's kind of like, but when that's not part of your social fabric, I don't know what their background is,
Mhm.
but when that's not part
Right.
of your social fabric, when it's not part of the conversation, then I have to ask now with my melanin rich friends, is that a conversation that you and your friends have had, or someone is, I'm
I-
thinking someone who's much darker skinned than you comes out and says, man, that can't be my baby. Look how light skinned it is.
I got a perfect example. So I had a friend that went through something very similar. He thought his
Yeah.
his wife might have been stepping out on him, and his daughter didn't look quite as much like him as his other kids. And I was
Yeah.
kind of like, and I don't know. I agreed. I was like, I get it, you know. Now this wasn't like I say, it wasn't a white black thing. It was a fair skin, dark skin thing. I mean, fair skin. You got me saying fair skin now.
No, fair skinned is right.
Light skin, dark skin.
Good word
But
to use.
so I was that guy. I was the guy. But to be honest, it was more about the features, like the striking features, eye shape,
That's what I
nose,
was
mouth,
at.
than it was more about the actual
Features.
light or dark or anything like that. I mean, is it racist or is it a mistake? It's a tough call though. But it's
I
on
mean,
one hand, he was clearly searching specifically for white features because he said that, right? So blue
okay.
hair, I mean blue hair, blue eyes, blonde hair, those type of features. But the thing
Smart.
is, I don't know. It's a thin line because he was looking for things like him.
Yeah.
That identified, and that was the same thing we were looking. Does it have the same nose? Does it have the pointed nose? Do we have the? Does he lack bald hair? Does he have bald hair? Does he have?
But he
great-
is
I'm
his
just kidding.
father, so if he's his father, like any father would look at their kid and be like, "Oh, does he have my
Yeah.
eyes? Does he have his mom's lips?" Like,
Yeah.
so that's natural. But I do think him treating his son differently is whack. Like, I'm sorry, that's not. I don't care if you did have doubts. That's whack.
Well,
That's a
I agree with
child.
Robbie. What I do agree with Robbie is that this is not a conversation. This is not how you don't take it out on the kid. You kind of
Yeah,
bring it
no,
up.
that's
You have this conversation. If
weird.
you have doubts, if there are doubts, you talk to the mom. If it
Yeah.
was doubts early on, you say, "Hey, look, because this is about trust. Hey, look, I need to
Yeah.
know, is this my kid or not? And if it's
he
not,
had those doubts,
Like that,
even if
just
he
like
would have
that.
had that conversation, he probably would have gone with the paternity test also. Because I know people who
Yeah.
have done secret DNA tests where it's like, you know what, this kid might be mine. Here's a snippet of hair. What? That's a conversation? What?
It's horrible. Yeah,
and
that's
even worse
horrible.
to find out it
You're not.
was his kid. You know what I'm saying? So I mean,
Yeah.
it
That's
was his kid,
embarrassing.
and he's been treating this kid, however bad he's been. He didn't specify how bad he was treating. He just treated him differently. Like obviously
No, and
showing more
that's it.
love.
If he doubts the paternity, then there's a sense of detachment there, and that manifests itself in the
The
relationship.
kid,
It
the kid,
absolutely
the
does.
kid feels that. The kid's been feeling that his whole he's was a 5-year-old kid and a 3-year-old daughter, I think it was. He's been feeling that his
Oh, yeah.
whole life. So that's kind of ridiculous. But
And then there's that awkward feeling the kid feels like his father's a white man and he's a mixed kid who can be, I don't know what his skin tone is, but he could probably be considered black by out onlookers. So,
Mhm.
I mean, that like, I would just feel uncomfortable with that because it's like, is the father threatened by the son if he becomes a certain age? I just feel like I'm glad that he was able to get the paternity test, but like Robin, you said that it would have been better had they communicated properly so that it could have been done without secrecy and disrespect.
yeah, he needed to have that conversation long time ago.
Mhm.
All right.
Time.
Is this truth, lies, shenanigans?
A bunch
Straight up
of
shenanigans, man. Don't do that.
shenanigans.
Don't
Shenanigans.
do that.
Yeah.
Don't treat kids bad.
Right, that's the thing. This kids, man,
They're
you
evil.
can't do that. You can't, even if
Don't
you're
do
not
that. I
sure
don't
or whatever it is, you can't do it.
Mm.
All right,
weird.
Robbie, let's talk about these robots.
Yeah. All right.
Robots.
So A team of researchers at the Max Planck University in Munich designed a milli robot that's a centimeter by 2 centimeters by zero point 0.2 millimeters. Now, the video that's running side by side is just going to give you an idea of some of the capabilities of these tiny little medical robots. Now,
Interesting.
yeah, so what they did is they created them with the design of the pangolin so that it can get around. They can use they can use magnetic stimuli, they can use heat sources to make it move around. That's the pangolin right there. So you can see that they've got these wonderful little shells and they can roll around. And that's the tiny little robots, like I was
It's
saying.
like little
You know,
scales.
It's
yeah.
gross.
So what
This
it's
is
doing in this
gross.
part of the video, it's rolling around, and what it's doing is it's actually delivering a medical payload to the epicenter of an infection. That little blue strip
Nice.
is the medication. In this
Nice.
video, if this were, say, the small intestine, an
Mhm.
area that's very difficult to access, what they can do is they can place these tiny little robots in a specific area, and by using RF transmissions, they can get it to heat up to 70 degrees Celsius or 158 degrees Fahrenheit, uh,
Mhm.
distances of 5 centimeters in less than 30 seconds.
Mm.
So they can, they
So
can
they can
mitigate bleeding. They can work on tissue phantom, hyperthermia, all kinds of really neat things. So
Complex.
now, right? I feel like medical robotics and science fiction are kind of getting pretty close. So my
Yeah.
question to you, my friends, is would you consent to having automated robots performing medical procedures on you or a loved one?
let me start. So
Yeah,
I
start
mean,
now.
I've always said I want to live to 150. So
Yeah, me
I'm
too.
all about
Heard that.
incorporating technology into my body to make that happen. And I love the idea of nanobots, right? That's like fascinated me. But I don't know about this one
Yeah.
because I mean, I got to put things in perspective too. So one, this is really rudimentary. I know it's based on the pangolin, which is cool, but the devices look like a bunch of little tiny razor blades rolling around inside you and stuff. And plus I don't know,
They're simpler.
we're calling these things
They're
robots.
simple.
We're calling these things robots, but they're not really robots in the sense that they're not autonomous. They can't execute programmed actions. They can't detect
Right,
the
but
issue and go fix it. A human has to move it around using
They
magnets.
have to be directed.
Right.
Absolutely.
yeah,
So,
but that's
Absolutely.
good.
so it's not really robots in your bodies. And then, it's like the equivalent of like taking a little ball on the top of a table, and then under the table you're moving around with magnets. That's basically what we're talking about, right? Just
It's literally
Very much
that.
so.
the uniqueness is that
Very much so.
it's like based on the pangolin with the scales and the
That's so
stuff like that.
funny.
But
Yeah.
and the other thing is they're designed to be biodegradable. So what does that really mean? This is metal. How does it break down? And
No, they
What?
are
I thought you-
they are non-metallic. They are using I
Some
didn't get into the
soft.
full publication, but they're
Yeah, some
using
soft
soft
tip.
materials. They're not using metal.
all right.
Yeah,
But
they're
then
not
what
using
happens
metal.
when it breaks down in your body? And what's your body absorbs what these metal-like materials and
Well,
and then the
I
other
mean,
thing
if it's
is
in your small or large intestine, we know what's going to happen to it.
well, yeah, you're gonna shit. That's
I
a
was
good
gonna
It'll
say that.
pass.
That's a good point. Unless on the outside, though. Unless on the outside of your intestine. But anyway, I don't know. But it's just I'm not feeling this one. I'm all in for anything that'll help me live longer, be healthier, and
It's
I
just
gotta
not
wait
this
till
one.
they come out with some real nanobots and
Crazy.
But don't get me wrong. If this procedure was the one thing that saved my life, I'm all in. Whatever, I don't care. Which it could be.
Honestly,
What do you think? What do you
That's
think, Johnny?
Survival imperative.
I think it's funny that we still have the talk and the talk about whether robotics and technology or technology in medicine is ethical or if it's right, because we already have it and we've been having it. It's just like we've kind of like just been inching and getting like little, I guess, milestones when it comes to technology. But now that we're like, we actually have something that can go in and do complex things and go into places that we normally can't go into. It's just like, we're like, is that right? So
Mhm.
I don't know. I don't think I necessarily have an issue with the robots working on us. I just don't want us to really be like those sci-fi movies or like those movies where we really completely lose human contact and human involvement and
I'm fine
everything's
with that.
robot.
Whatever. I
I
can
don't
be
want
as long as my
that.
brain is
Neo
here.
wants
I'm
the
good.
nanites.
I'll be
Neo wants the
nanobots.
nanites.
You give me nanobots. You give me android hands. I don't even care. You know, take my knees away,
No.
replace those knees. Whatever you gotta do. I want bionics.
Neo.
Give me bionics. Half android. Whatever you need to do. Keep
I can
me
see that.
going.
No, Neo, I can't do that. I think because it's like when I think of humanity and humans, I think of God, and when I think of robots, I think of like the enemy. Like I think the opposite because I think that, like you guys said, robots could actually take over, and I think that's a reality that we don't think. We think it's funny, but
AI
we
is going
have
to
like
take over.
30 to,
Yes, no doubt.
AI is going to take over, and
yeah,
it's going
I
to need
think
to
so.
it's going to need to be mobile. So then robotics comes into play.
It's gonna happen.
You're right.
And it'll
You're right,
control
Rob.
me.
First
Fine.
it's
I don't
AI,
care. I'm
and then
still
it's
alive. I'll be part of the hive.
Neo.
The hive mind.
The hive mind. Just add me. I'll be a Borg. Like, you're fine.
Yep. I will resist.
He's so serious.
All right, last 15
But
seconds,
no,
Rob.
I don't. How do
Yeah,
you feel, Rob? Do you think it's cool?
To me, this is really neat because it is, like Neo said, I mean, these aren't automated robots, but we're getting closer. With each new development, we get one
Yes.
step closer to developing it. So, just incorporating nature's designs into our machinery is nothing new. Now we have access to materials and the ability to manipulate them in manners that we just never could before, like with 3D printing and whatnot. So I
Oh,
think
yeah,
this is
yeah.
just an exciting dawn as far as internal medication is concerned. If I had, any lesions that were hard to access, I would definitely be open to this kind of therapeutic.
Oh, heck yeah. I can't lie. I'd be
Utilizing-
open to it. I mean, I wouldn't, if they stuck around for a long time, I'm definitely not
Weird.
open to that. I need to be a little further along before I get into it. Jose says I would
And-
totally be open to this. It's super cool, amazing what we can achieve with technology.
It is
Right.
cool what we can achieve. It is very cool.
All right. Is this truth, lies, shenanigans?
This is some truth
Some cool
for
truth.
me.
Yeah. Good stuff.
Choo-choo.
I mean, it's good. I just, I
The
need it to
choo-choo
be,
train.
it's true, but I need to get a little further along. They're going a little slow for me. I hear you on this moving step by
Neo.
step. They need to speed it up
He
because you
wants
only
us to
got.
have flying cars.
Hey, look,
he wants us to
my
have
life.
flying cars already.
When you start looking at like average lifespan, I only got like 25 more years if I'm lucky. So,
Right?
What?
I
Average
hear what you're saying,
lifespan.
brother.
That's.
If you look at average lifespan,
I just said I have 25 more years. What do you think I'm going? I'm not going. Average lifespan is
95.
70. What?
Oh.
Children
my
die too, right?
God.
So you got to average it out.
No.
I'm
That's
just saying it's an
horrible.
average lifespan.
75 is young.
95. That's if you're really lucky if you make it to 90, 95. All right.
I
So
think you'll make it
US
to
male
150.
Yeah, so the average lifespan for males in the U.S. is 77.28,
Oh, it did go up.
and Canada's 81 point some.
Good
So,
Lord. I need. So
See,
you're gonna,
Canada's always
so you're gonna
winning.
live longer than me. That's not right. I need to move.
I hope
I
so.
think I think it has to
Go
do
move
with
to
the cold
Canada.
air. I honestly think it has to do with the colder air because
Preserves you.
No, I think it does. Cryogenesis. I'm telling you because
Oh my God.
people that live the
It's actually-
longest
but the
tend to be
air-
in cold areas. I'm
air-
telling you.
That's weird.
Because that
I
cold
never
air
thought about
is
that.
very rejuvenating.
Yeah.
It's very rejuvenating.
What?
Absolutely.
Wow.
Well, guys,
Interesting.
we're I know we started a little bit late, but
Way
we're
over
definitely low
time.
on time. So, Gianni, we're gonna make this a very quick fire question. So,
Okay.
Gianni, let's go ahead and do it real quick.
Truth, lies, shenanigans.
Yes. So I'm sure you guys have heard about the missing submersible called the Titan that was set to explore the Titanic, boarding 5 people. Well, we know that the trip went from rescue to recovery after finding pieces of that submersible and discovering that an implosion actually occurred. So this vessel lost contact with the mothership about an hour and 45 minutes into their mission, or into its dive rather, and it didn't surface as it was expected, which started this whole search from the jump. So From the details, we know the trip provider OceanGate Expeditions, the company is facing a series of mechanical problems, and even workers from that company mentioned that they felt it wasn't safe because of previous issues that the Titan had. My question to you guys is, should the deaths of the 5 passengers aboard the submersible be seen as an accident in a high-risk adventure, or does the responsibility actually lie within the organizers of the company to ensure that their customers are safe, basically?
I mean, I think it's pretty straightforward. It's definitely a high risk adventure. I mean, these are thrill
What?
seekers. These are thrill
Yeah.
seekers. I mean, one of the guys was on the spacecraft that Bezos went up. I mean, they're
Oh
trying.
yeah, I read about him.
So,
Yeah, I heard
so
about him.
and then they
That
put in their
process.
waivers. They put in their waivers a bunch of times that, hey, this is your potential to die. On top of that, all these. I mean, yeah, there were previous people that said that, hey, this thing is dangerous. You shouldn't go on it. I even think I read that a couple of the people who were on it had gotten the warnings that they probably shouldn't go on it. So I don't know. These are
Yeah.
I
thrill
mean,
seekers. I'm not. It doesn't feel the same as when I saw the shuttles. Several decades ago,
Yeah, no.
when those went up, because those people were putting their lives online for scientific exploration and things like that. These guys were going out to have fun. It's no different than being on some ATVs, doing wheelies and stuff like that, and something happens to you. Eh,
yeah.
I feel bad for you, but sometimes you earn it. I don't know. What do you think, Rob?
It was their
Well,
fault.
let me preface my comments by saying, like, we need to approach these types of incidents with
Yes.
empathy and
Let me
considered perspective.
reiterate.
Yes,
Let,
of
let,
course.
let me mirror what you're saying, Rob, because yes, although I'm not shedding a tear, I do feel for the families that are left behind.
Of course.
Absolutely.
Of course.
That being said, I mean, those who participate in high risk activities acknowledge the potential for dangers when they sign up. It's not they don't necessarily imply that they're actively seeking harm or disaster. Like when you go to an amusement park, you're not signing up for the ride to go off the rails, but it is
Right.
a risk. It is a real risk, right? So people engaging in these activities are hoping to have a unique experience, or they're exploring new frontiers, and that's exciting. That's what we do as humans. So, but we
Right.
usually blindly trust that the operators and organizers have taken the appropriate precautions to ensure our
They're
safety. And at
supposed
the end
to.
of the day, the responsibility lies with the operators and the authorities to prioritize the safety of passengers in these types of tourist activities. Because if it's not safe,
But then what's
somebody's
the
got to
point
say
in
no.
waivers? I mean, what's the point in having waivers if that's the case? I mean, they're not enforceable. Why is the responsibility of them? I mean, yeah, they should tell them,
Oh, I'm
hey, this is
saying,
really
I
dangerous.
mean,
hey man, whoever
because it's a
greenlit this
new
project at the government level and said this is acceptable, you're operating within these safety guidelines
right.
and parameters is acceptable. Clearly, it wasn't done. So somebody didn't do their job at an official level, and people died.
All right, Johnny.
And
real quick.
I feel like when it comes to the situation, I think the company is at fault, because if you think about it, like, rich people are always going to find something new to do. Like there's always going to be something new. Like
'Cause they're bored.
like for real, they're bored. They want to go on to the moon. They want to go to Mount Everest. And I'm
I
going
mean,
to be
I want to
honest,
go
if I
to the
was
moon. I
wealthy,
still want to go to the moon. I just want to reiterate.
right? I want to do that too. So I get why they want to see the Titanic. But I think that it was the fault of this company, because if you know that you have if you know that the submersible hasn't passed all the tests that it was supposed to have passed, or in the past that it was faulty things wrong with it, I would never put it out there. Like, I would never even market it, promote it, or anything like that, because of the risk that it could cause death. Like, it's already a submersible alone. You can die because it's a submersible, but
But
now the submersible itself imploded. Like, that's not
it was
the ocean.
operating successfully previously, so it was working. It's kind of like the roller coaster worked those
during the
349,000
test.
times. It was that one time that it popped up. Okay,
But see, that's the thing.
clearly
It
Maybe
didn't
they
go
didn't
out
need
that
but
five
many
when you
times.
defy
This is a question.
physics to this level, when you're going to space,
That
when you're going deep sea, death is
yeah.
a very real eventuality, and you have to accept that. And unfortunately, it played out that way.
Yeah,
All right.
that's true. That's true.
Truth, lies, shenanigans.
Is this truth, lies, or shenanigans?
There are
The
shenanigans.
Titanic.
I'm
afoot
going
in
with
the story.
shenanigans on this one. This is I want to say
There are
truth, but
shenanigans
this is
afoot.
shenanigans. I'm
I was
going
like,
with
this is
shenanigans.
the truth.
I feel you on truth, but no.
I feel bad.
All right,
It's true, but shenanigans afoot.
let's get our
Absolutely.
game out the way. We're gonna do just one round. All right,
Okay.
get your answers right. Make sure you get your answers right. All right. It's the last week of Pride Month, so I figured we'd celebrate with some Pride Month trivia. We'll go around the horn. Whoever gets the most correct answers gets the final thought for the show. Let's get started. We're starting with Gianni. All right,
Okay.
Gianni. What event is widely seen as marking the beginning of the modern gay rights movement? Is that the Stonewall riots, the first Gay Liberation Day, or the AIDS crisis?
Modern gay rights movement. I don't remember them rioting. The AIDS crisis?
The AIDS crisis. I'm certain
I love you,
that
Johnny.
is incorrect.
Answer.
Stonewall riots.
Yes, the correct answer is the Stonewall Rise. Stonewall uprising began in the early morning of
judge
June
me.
29th, 1969, after police raided a bar called the Stonewall Inn that catered to the most marginalized of the city's queer community. All right.
Never heard of it.
Wow.
Horrible.
Yes. You're
Yeah.
gonna-
I'm sure it came up during last year's trivia, Johnny.
Actually, I
I'm
think it
sure
did.
came up during last year's trivia.
I'm pretty sure.
Because it's a moment. It's a moment.
It was a
If it
thing.
wasn't this, if it was
a
last
whole
year, it was
thing.
a year before, I'm sure. All right. Rob B. Where
That's
did
funny.
a similar event take place in San Francisco 3 years earlier? The Purple Pickle, the Stud, or Gene's Compton Cafeteria? Gene
What?
Gene Compton's Cafeteria, sorry.
Oh, okay.
Oh my god.
Purple Pickle, the Stud, or Gene Compton's Cafeteria?
Not the Stud.
You know what?
I'm dead.
I gotta go with the purple pickle. Just 'cause
The
it's
Purple
hilarious.
Pickle.
You got it.
That
You
is
got it.
funny. That is
Sounds correct.
incorrect.
I should have gone with my gut. Gene Compton.
Oh,
That's
Gene
That's the more
Compton.
sensible name.
Yeah, Gene
Right?
Compton's Cafeteria is one of the few places in San Francisco where transgender women could openly congregate in 1966.
Oh, wow.
These women fought back and rioted when, following ongoing police harassment, an officer attempted to arrest one of them. No idea.
Wow.
New information
I
to
never
me.
knew
not know
that.
that.
Yeah.
All right, let's see if I can get one right. When was the first gay pride parade held in San Francisco? 1975, 1965, or 1970? I'm going to go with
First
the
gay
furthest date out, 1965 as a guess. 1965. That is incorrect. It was 1970.
Wrong answer.
Wow.
So it wouldn't become
That
an
sounds
annual
like a good
tradition until
year.
1972. The first parade was in 1970 when a small group of transgender women marched down Polk Street. This was followed by a gay inn at the Golden Gate Park. Hundreds attended. All right. So we all got one wrong.
Wow.
Whoever gets the
Okay,
new one,
well,
I'll
we
answer
each-
the next
exactly. We each get to pick one.
one. Right. So we get the answer to the next one,
Okay.
and let's see who gets it right. The original pride flag, created in 1978, included 3 colors that no longer appear on the flag as it exists today. What
Oh, wow.
were they? Pink, gold, and silver, dark red, turquoise, silver, pink, turquoise, and indigo.
I think it's dark red, turquoise, and silver.
I like pink, gold, and
That's
silver.
a horrible combo.
You said pink, gold, and silver? Is that what you said? Oh,
Yep.
damn, that's what I was going to say. All right,
Pink,
pink, turquoise,
turquoise.
and indigo. I'll just take whatever's left. Let's see. I think it's pink, gold, and silver. Let's see. Pink, turquoise, and indigo. I get it right.
Hey!
What?
Neo wins the game. Neo
Neo,
wins
you
the
finally
game.
win.
Nice.
That was fun. All right, guys, let's get some shout outs in. Johnny.
Shout out to Gissele. I really loved you as a guest because you reminded me of a really important message about compassion and the self-compassion that we that we should have. So thank you.
I love that. Robbie?
Nice. Special shout out to Lizzie Enders. Happy belated birthday, our friend.
Okay, happy birthday. Yeah, we're missing our Lizzie.
I know, Liz.
Yeah.
But also a shout out to my granddaughter who lost her first tooth this week, and I was fortunate enough to pick her up
How
from school
cute.
the same day, and she was just beaming with pride.
Oh,
She had
that
this
is
tiny little tooth.
Aw,
That is cute. All
that's
right.
cute.
All right. Shout out to the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, NAACP.
And they
They're taking a stand against Governor DeSantis' attempt to erase Black history in Florida schools, where you can't
Yes.
even say the word race in schools. NAACP issued a travel advisory for Black and brown people not to travel to Florida. So kudos to them.
Wow.
Stop spending your travel dollars in Florida.
Yeah.
Bye, DeSantis.
Damn DeSantis.
Idiot.
Oops.
The Satans. He's
Damn
awful.
DeSantis. Oh, we got too much.
I was
going
gonna
on.
say, oh, Jeff is coming on.
Got too many
Jeff
buttons.
Perlman.
Too many buttons.
I'm back.
All right, that is officially all the time we have for today's show. I'd like to thank you for joining us. We hope you learned something, gained a new perspective, or simply had some laughs with us. Reminder, Wednesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern Time is our new time. We go live each week, and our official podcast episodes will be available on Fridays. But next week is the 4th of July holiday in the U.S., so we'll be taking the week off to celebrate. In the meantime, subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, Pods Network, PODZ, Spotify, or anywhere you listen to podcasts. Just search for Truth, Lies, Shenanigans. And I get the final thought for the show.
Hey.
All right. I want to mirror Gianni and Gisele's comments today. Love and
Yes.
compassion. We got to love each other. But most importantly, and this was a lesson I learned a long, long time ago, you got to love yourself. Love
Amen.
yourself, people. We're all we got.
It's true.
We're all we got. All right.
Yes.
Thank you, Robbie Rock, Gianni, Gisele from the Love and Compassion podcast. But most importantly, we got to thank you for listening to our shenanigans each and every week. Have a good week, everyone. Enjoy your 4th of July.